and a very warm welcome to So This is Thailand. I'm Valerie McKenzie. Sawadee ka.
I'm Johan Wimonchalau. Swadee krap.
And I'm Tapani Manawet. สวัสดีค่ะ
Now, there's lots of stories that we can bring you, but I think Johan's got a special intro today.
Well, I don't know how many of you who are watching this show watch Thai television as well, but you actually do get a lot of interesting stories going on there. Even if you don't understand the language, the context tells you all. Now, this is quite interesting. What they were saying was, if you stretch your arms out like this, then from tip to tip, that's the same as your height. You believe it?
Well, I think we're dumbfounded, really.
Not only that, from your wrist to your elbow is the size of your feet.
Oh, I knew that. You got that from Thai television?
No way.
Yeah,
No
it's
way.
true.
Wrist to the elbow.
Wrist to the elbow, that is the size of your foot. So that's why a lot of times, the reason why it inspired me was I'm a lover of art. And I know that especially when children draw little drawings of people, you always tend to make the feet really small and the arms really short. When in fact, that elbow to wrist
Actually,
and fingertip to fingertip.
Sure. If you've ever seen, I think it's Michelangelo, the man like
Yes.
this, and you can actually draw a radius around the. Well, okay.
Around the body.
You know what I'm
exactly.
trying to say. Like the span of the arms.
The diameter, yes.
Is the same as the height.
yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
go along
And
with that. Go on.
have
please.
you ever been to a flea market and seen the women trying on where you can't try on jeans and they put it around their necks? And it's supposed to be the same as your waist.
Here's a little tip for you then. Next time you're out there in Dr. Jacko and Pratunam shopping for pants, just to go around the neck. If
Right.
you're shopping for shoes,
Yes,
Wrist
yes,
to elbow.
yes.
But let me tell you, it may be okay for the Thais, but the foreigners, no way from my wrist to my elbow is the size of my foot.
it's true.
Absolutely.
It's true.
It's-
I did
I'm
it.
going
I
with my
tried
foot.
it. I tried it yesterday, and it works.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't believe you, but we'll tell you in tomorrow's program. What else is coming up?
Well, coming up in Talk of the Town, low-budget carriers seem to be the talk of the town, especially in the region, and Malaysia is entering into Thailand with their new budget carrier coming from Malaysian Airlines, and it's called Firefly. Now, Firefly will fly just into Hat Yai, starting for now.
That'll be interesting because at the moment there's so many border crossings, as we know, people coming backwards and forwards, the buses coming backwards and forwards. It'll be interesting to see what the pricing position is, but it's going to have to be very, very competitive, I would think.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because you have Singapore's Tiger Airways, and you already have Malaysia's Air Asia as well as low-cost budget carriers. An interesting thing, though, is the new Firefly is using the ATR 72-500 turboprop, though. So it's not a jet. It's going to fly a little lower, but the time should be about the same.
Not going to get there any quicker.
Not going to get there any quicker.
Right. So a very competitive market, the discount carriers or the low-cost carriers. But Malaysia's Firefly, when I saw the headline, I thought, that's interesting, there are fireflies in Hat Yai. But no, it's the brand of an airline.
Right. Next up, we're talking about Thailand's investments and forecast by the BOI, and it's actually a very positive outlook. They're judging this from the privileges being granted to companies who are applying for these investment privileges, which has now exceeded their target for this period this year. The projection is 630 billion baht, and already into the first 7 months of the year, the value has nearly reached that much. The value has already exceeded 570 billion. So they're saying that the business prospects for the investment climates and everything is very, very positive. This is good because of the aftermath of the floods. So it's good to see that investors are being confident and indulging in high value projects this year. The economy is expected to grow by 5.5%, which is higher than the global average around the world.
Pretty impressive, I feel, considering we've had the flooding and considering other issues that we've had in the country. I just hope that the BOI will open up more to the services industry because there's a lot of investment opportunities where we need the service industries here. Even if it's something like the vocational schools, there's a real need for that. At the moment, you want to get involved in a particular industry, you learn from your uncle or your aunt or your whomever, but you don't have the real qualifications as such. So great news for Thailand, but in addition to that, please guys, open up for the service industries too.
Well, if you remember, one of the stories that we actually aired a few weeks ago was they were looking at the cosmetics industry, and they were expecting that that was going to be one of the major investment areas that they could get into. So it makes sense that you're having such strong numbers coming from the BOI. Well, going along from investment looking towards cross-border relationship, officials are trying to push for more border crossings between Thailand and Myanmar, especially in the north. Now, for anyone who's actually visited up in Chiang Mai or Mae Sot, they know that those border crossings get quite busy at the times, and they're looking to open at least 3 more areas along the border there to help boost trade and communication. One in Ban Thong in Phang district and Santondu in Mae Ai district. Did I pronounce that right?
Nearly.
Nearly. Now, local residents are saying they want these to help boost the trade and openness of communication, but the army was arguing that might also encourage the drug trafficking.
Well, it's a matter of having the checking to be more thorough. I think that's the point, isn't it? I mean, we know where people are hiding drugs. I mean, if the airports can pick it up, and more so, we need to actually increase the security at the borders, increase the checking.
Right, and I kind of feel that most of these things don't really come in and out through roads. They kind of
exactly right.
Filter through in non-conventional ways.
Well, that was the ministry's argument, the fact that these additional border crossings, some of them have been going on and off throughout the last decade, and the drug trafficking has actually increased regardless of whether it was opened or closed.
Right.
So they're saying, there must be other measures in place for the security. We'll see how that goes. If the success of the Thai-Myanmar borders opens, we'll see also Thai and Lao borders open as well.
Well, speaking of borders, another 1,500 Border Patrol police are being deployed to the troubled south, who are going to mobilize to solve problems in southern border provinces. Now, the additional 1,500 Border Patrol police are going to support the local police to maintain the peace and the order for the southernmost provinces, I guess, in view of the most recent very, disturbing attacks on police. Well, the committee, they say they're open to advice and suggestions from any party, and they really want to kind of get all the heads around to solve this problem. In addition, the Air Force is going to be joining in by sending airplanes for aerial military operations and providing satellite photographs to assist with the Army on the operations on the ground.
There's 2 extra stories we'd like to bring you this morning, and that is for those of you who, we talked the other day about the visas and going into China and how they were tightening up because of people going in there and wanting to work. Now, on the other hand, Turkey has actually weakened, or not weakened, shall I say, but actually reduced the requirement for Thais to have a visa going to Turkey. So if you want to go there, it seems to be the flavour of the month at the moment, then Turkey is visa-free for Thais. I'm not sure about Australians, but you need to check.
Well, it's good, the fact that there's a direct flight between Bangkok and Istanbul as well.
2 a day, in fact. So I think the Turkish Airlines are doing fairly well, and they're obviously going to be very, very happy that there is only no visas for the Thais. It's going to make life a lot easier.
I have heard this before, and there's also no barriers for buying property there. So if you're
Correct.
a foreigner and you want to own a holiday home, well, hey, you're very, very welcome. Or if you want to open a bank account, great, we give you great interest rates as well.
And interesting because, Turkey is in Europe, or part of it's in Europe, part of it's in Asia. One of the things that's really interesting also is the fact that when you buy the property is so much more reasonable, and I mean by 50% on European destinations, and that can be whether it's on the sea, whether it's in Istanbul itself, in Izmir, Antalya, wherever it may be. So a good place to visit, I'm told. Have been there a couple of years ago, need to go back. And we also talked about properties in Pattaya. Was it a week or 2 ago? We had a guest in here. And we just want to remind you that there are so many properties available in Pattaya now. In fact, there are 27,000 units for sale, another 2,500 coming on the market. Now, you've got to actually work out where you want to live, what the positioning is. The positioning very, very clearly is in central Pattaya itself. The north of Pattaya gains more income into, if you're renting, than does the south areas. And of course, Pratumak Hill, that's also an area that's very, very popular. Position, position, position. Transportation is also important. You've just been down there recently, so you would know you've got to be near the restaurants and the amenities.
And it's what's really amazing is for anyone who's been in Thailand, let's say go back a decade or even 2 decades, Pattaya was really what Hua Hin is today. Very relaxed, very quiet, and you go down there now, you wouldn't recognize it. There is so much development and construction going down there, it's amazing.
In addition, you've also got to be very careful, for those of you who are buying that are from overseas, the management of a property is very important. Here, it doesn't always happen the way it should. So when you're buying property, please make sure that you check who are the managing agents. Don't try to actually lease out yourselves on the rental side. Make sure someone does it for you. That means collecting the rent, making sure that the property is looked after, etc. So, of course, 1 and 2 bedrooms are the places to buy. They're the ones that are being rented, not the smaller ones and not the larger ones, because they're very, very expensive. But Pattaya is still a great place to buy. The only thing is you need to just be careful where you go, who you purchase from, and if you're going to rent it out, make sure that people are managing it for you, the professionals. So I guess that goes for anywhere, but with 27,000 units, that's a lot of units.
Make sure you check out who your neighbors are as well. Say that there's quite a lot of violence in Pattaya, so it's always good to be very careful.
Exactly, but you know, it's also the areas you go to, isn't it? Because it's the same in Bangkok. I mean, I always say that it's safer being in Bangkok than perhaps in certain places around in Australia, which is only 20 or 22 million population. But I don't go into the backstories. I don't go into the places where there's likely to be trouble. And I think that it's the same in any city that you go to in the world, and in Thailand we're no different. So that's something that you need to look out for. Of course, there's a Glen, as you saw from Johan last week, there's lots and lots of opportunities for tourist attractions in Pattaya, more and more coming on stream. And have you been to Ripley's, believe it or not?
I have been there several times. Have you been there?
Yeah, many years ago though.
You like it?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting at the time. You know, as a kid, I used to get really freaked out when you walk into the room and the eyes follow you. That's always my favorite, believe it or not.
It sounds like your mum or your dad following you, is that right?
Well, it's an easy landmark because you can see it's a plane that's sticking out. Plane or a car that's sticking out of the front of the building.
Plane, yeah.
Right, we're going to go to a break, but we'll also tell you about our next interview. I'm going to be talking to Mr. Christopher Kim, who is the Managing Director, CEO of Unicity here. Now, we hear about a lot of direct selling companies. Unicity is one that, to be honest with you, not a lot of people have heard about, and yet they're doing so well. Double-digit growth every month, and it looks as though it's going to get bigger and better. So they have a special, unique feature that is the first maybe in the world, but certainly the first in Thailand. Stay tuned and we'll be back with the Unicity story.